instead of you. And the women would be able to find jobs in the community because they didn't have to walk for water. That was the magic. And it dawned on me that every time we as Rotarians engage in something special, a project, something that we do for community service or international service or vocational service, we are creating lasting change and we are creating magic for someone. Often that magic comes back to us. So the magic of Rotary is an important phrase for all of us as we think about how we engage in Rotary. The messaging that I am promoting during our year together is really three things. One is about growing our membership. One is about helping to heal a divided world by using positive peace. And one is about figuring out how to change but keep continuity in place so that we become an effective organization. So let me start with the first one. Why is this important? You may be saying, Stephanie, we've been talking about this for years and years and years, and that's the problem. We've been talking about it, but we're people of action. We really need to act on it to make something different happen. And there are different realities to membership in different parts of the world. In some parts of the world, it is not a problem to attract people to clubs, but it's more difficult to keep them in clubs. In some parts of the world, they haven't started a new Rotary club in their area in years. So every region must take a look at itself. And I say there are three things that must happen at the same time if we are to grow. One is attracting members to our existing clubs. Our existing clubs are not going away. I call them traditional clubs. I'm in one. But we have to make sure that we become irresistible, that we have a culture that will attract new people into our organization. You know, when I look in the mirror every morning, I realize I don't have 25 years in front of me to do Rotary, but I see many people on this screen that do, and that makes me really happy because Rotary is the best organization in the world. We want it to continue. I love Rotary just like you do. I know you do. This is Wednesday evening. If you didn't love Rotary, you would be off doing something different, but you've decided to come to this meeting because you have a passion for Rotary. So we must continue to look at attracting people to our existing clubs. The second thing that must happen at the same time is retention, retaining, keeping the members that we have. It is no good to bring in 5 members into your club if at the end of the year 10 have left. That doesn't help at all. So we really have to work on our club culture, the club experience, to make sure that people find the value that they're looking for. You know, people come to Rotary for different reasons. When Paul Harris started Rotary 120 years ago, he was not looking to do service. He was lonely. He wanted fellowship. He was looking to make new friends and found 3 other people and said, we're going to every week go around to different offices. We're going to rotate, which is how we got our name. And almost 2 years later, that group of individuals decided to do the first service project. But originally, it was fellowship. Some people do want to get involved in service right away. They hear that we're a membership organization that does service. They want to roll up their sleeves. They want to help the community. They want to help the world. And that's wonderful. Some look at us and say, wow, look at all this business experience. If I became a member of this club, I could probably learn things. I could learn about project management, leadership, public speaking, and all of that is true. And then same thing, look at us and say, so many business people. I have a business, they have a business. I think this would be a great place to network. And that's also true. And there could be other reasons. But my point is, we should find out from our members why they are coming, what attracted them to our clubs, so that we're better able to select our programs, our speakers, our projects, our socials, and from time to time, we're going to have something that will match what they're looking for. So the club experience has become very, very, very important. People have lots of other things going on in life. They have families, they have work commitments, they have other organizations. So if they don't find value in an experience, you know what they do? They take their feet and they go someplace else. Sometimes we know why, sometimes we don't. I always say it is better to talk to people as they come into the club. Very often, I will hear from Rotary clubs who say, well, we did an exit interview and people told us that their jobs got busy or their families needed them. And I say, that's baloney. That's the worst time to talk to anybody. If they've decided to leave the club, they're not going to tell you the real reason. They're nice people. That's why we invited them into the club in the first place. So they're going to say what they think we want to hear. So they're going to say work or family. They're not going to say, well, I left because Stephanie is crazy and she makes too much noise at the meetings. They're not going to say that. They're going to tell us a reason that might sound polite. So it's better to find out at the front end. Why are you attracted to our club? What would you like to work on? Are there projects that you have in mind that we aren't doing yet? What can you tell us about yourself that we can't see on your application? Get to know people as they come in. And then it helps you create a better environment, a better club culture for those people. If you are an existing club, the way to do that is by doing a survey of your club members, at least annually, maybe even more often, and ask every member in the club. There are lots of surveys online, or you could use one that you create, or SurveyMonkey, or maybe you can simply even use your phone to call each other. But find out, do you like when we meet? Do you like the time of the day we meet? Do you like our programs? Are there things we're missing? Get that information from your members, and that helps you plan the future of your club. It also says to your members that you are giving them a chance to be a part of the future of the club, which creates buy-in, very important. And the third thing that must happen at the same time is the formation of new clubs, creating new ways for people to come into Rotary. You know, our traditional clubs have been around for a long time. And it wasn't until 2016 that our Council on Legislation created new models. But up until that time, you know that every Rotary club in the world did the same thing. Met 4 times a month, took attendance, rang bells, did the 4-way test, and there's nothing wrong with that. My club does that. We love to do that. But there are some people in our community who are not interested in that kind of experience. So we investigated the satellite club models, and we found that there were a group of people who were interested in doing Rotary a little differently. So we created a satellite. They pay the same dues for Rotary, for district, and for club. And I'm telling you this story because the very first night that we did an induction, we went from being a club of 34 to a club of 58 in one night. So there's something to the satellite model. People should investigate it, but it's not the only model. There are e-clubs and passport clubs and corporate clubs and cause-based clubs. Our council opened up the whole concept of Rotary models for us to investigate, to bring in more people who simply are not attracted to our existing club or who cannot make the time that we meet. You know, there are many clubs in the world who meet at noontime, at lunchtime. Well, if that's when you meet today, it's very difficult to get people who can come to a lunchtime meeting. You can't get teachers. They have students in class. You can't get medical people. They have patients in the hospital or in their offices. You can't get some retailers. They have customers. So many times it's as simple as looking for a different meeting time, maybe early in the morning before people go to work, or maybe right after work, or even in the evening, like your club needs. So it's important to take a look at some of those issues to see how can we change the atmosphere in our club to become more appealing. Now, the good news is we have a plan. We have an action plan, and you have action plan champions in your zone, in your district, and maybe even in your club. And these are people who can help us understand what the plan is and what it isn't. I'll tell you now what it isn't. It is not Rotary saying, Rotary International saying, you must do this. Not at all. It is simply a tool to help our Rotary clubs take a look at themselves and decide if we're good, how can we get to great? If we're not so good in something, how can we get better? That's what the action plan does. And it does it through 4 different priorities. The first one is about increasing our impact. This is the priority that talks to us about the importance of measurement so that we can get to impact. We must work with our communities to find out where is there something that we can make better and how do we measure it. I talk to clubs frequently who say, well, we give dictionaries to every one of our 3rd grade students. Well, that's wonderful. And I would say, what's the impact? And they'll say, well, we gave out 300 dictionaries. That's not the impact. That's the outcome. The impact is what happens to the reading level of those students as they go through elementary school. That's the impact. The analogy here that I frequently use when I speak in the United States is it's like going on a diet. If you decide to go on a diet, you have to step on the scale before you begin. You have to see where you start. Then you decide, what am I going to do to lose all these kilos? And you do that. Then you get back on the scale to see if it worked. That's not the impact. If you lost 10 kilos, that's not the impact. That's the outcome. The impact is what is going to happen to your health. Are you going to feel better? Are your clothes going to fit better? So we have to think in terms of impact so that we get the message across to people who are looking at Rotary, at our clubs and at our organization. The second one is expanding our reach, and I've mentioned that already, how important it is for us to think about other ways that we can create opportunities for people to come into our organization. The story that I tell here frequently is when I was a young woman, I used to go out disco dancing, and I would wear shoes that were Oh my goodness, they were really high shoes. And my father would see me walking out the door and he would grab me and say, "Where are you going with those shoes? You're going to kill yourself." And I would say, "Dad, don't worry. We all know how to walk in them and we all know how to dance in them because that's how we do it." And I tell that story because the way that I do Rotary is not the way that young professionals or Rotaractors want to do Rotary. Have you ever been to a Rotaract meeting? I see some heads nodding. It's really different from a Rotary Club meeting, isn't it? Because they do it differently. And so that's okay, as long as they are keeping our core values in place: fellowship, leadership, integrity, diversity, and service. As long as they're keeping our four-way tests in place, as long as they are keeping the fact that we are an organization built on world understanding and peace. It doesn't matter to me how they do Rotary. What matters to me is that they do Rotary. So that's what expanding our reach is about. Engagement really is club culture. That's the third priority. And I've spoken a bit about that already. Ask yourself, if you were not a Rotarian today and you went to your own club, would you want to join it? We have to ask ourselves from time to time, what's the atmosphere around here? What's it really like? Is it a place that is going to be attractive to individuals in our community? So engagement means looking at our club culture and making sure that our clubs are doing the kinds of things that are attractive. Are your projects impactful? Are you engaging every member in your club? You know, very often I speak to clubs and there are all kinds of ages. My club is an example. In the United States, we have a program called Highway Cleanup, where we go out and we pick up trash along the highway to make it more beautiful. When I was a young woman, I loved to do that. But now that I'm not a young woman, I don't want to go and pick up trash on the highway. But I will be the one who will write the check to buy the material that we need, the bags and the gloves and the things that people need to do. So there is a place for everyone in our Rotary clubs, but we have to make sure that we think about what are the opportunities that engage everyone in our club. And finally, the fourth priority is the one that talks to us about being flexible and being creative. And I got to tell you, Rotary, we figured this out 3 years ago when we had a pandemic. None of us could meet the way we wanted to. But every Rotary club around the world did something to stay connected. Many did exactly this, got on virtual platforms. Some simply used technology and called each other. Are you okay? Is there anything I can drop off on your patio for you? So I was so impressed that the world was craving connection, yet Rotary figured out how to do it. Of course, it's not perfect. It will never take the place of seeing each other at a convention or an institute or a district conference and giving each other a hug. Never. It will never replace that. But it has room in our world for opportunities to make connections. You know, I'm sitting here in Evanston, Illinois today, but I'm able to share some ideas with you because we knew how to adapt. This is also the priority that's asking us to think about our governance and how our clubs are organized. And do we have the right system? Do we need to make a change? You know, when I joined my first Rotary Club many years ago, I met a man named Byron. Byron had been the club treasurer for 34 years. Holy moly, what's wrong with that? 34 years. We should have said to him, Byron, you've done such a great job. There are some other people in the club that would like to do this job. Can you put a manual together about how to do this treasurer's job? And we want you to do our golf outing or our gala or our flag project. So we need to look at the roles and responsibilities. Do we have too many committees? Do we have enough committees? And make sure that the governance structure in our club is really supporting our efforts to serve our communities. Sometimes clubs have things in place over and over and over and over because that's the way they've always done it. We really need to step back and take a look. So those 4 priorities are the plan, are a guide for clubs to take a look at how they operate, to see if there is a way to improve, to see if there's a way to go from good to great or from not so good to better. The second priority that I'm interested in promoting and have been doing that is the one that talks about healing a divided world by using positive peace. I don't have to tell you that the world is a mess. I don't have to tell you that. You can see that every day. You can watch the television, you can pick up your device, you can read a newspaper, and you can see that the world is a mess. We have tools in Rotary that can help us promote positive peace. And make no mistake, we are not peace brokers. We are peace builders. There is a difference. We cannot stop war. We cannot negotiate the release of hostages. But what we can do and what we do is to go into communities and create the conditions that are necessary, the elements necessary to have positive peace. You know, I see behind Fred, he has the Rotary Action Group for Peace. That's a magnificent group of Rotarians and others who are helping all of our clubs and districts understand the concept of positive peace. So let me just talk about a couple of the tools that we already have that we can use. One is our 4-way test. It's a brilliant set of 4 sentences that if we really do put our thoughts and our words and our actions through that filter, we create a truthful, peaceful situation. However, sometimes I am at club meetings and I say to them, do you recite the 4-way test or do you live it? Because there is a difference. There is a big difference. I recently had an opportunity to visit a RILA camp, a Rotary Youth Leadership Camp. And they had sponsored a 4-way test speech contest for the participants. I got to listen to the first and second place winners. And as I sat there and I listened to this 17-year-old girl, high school student, talk about how she uses the 4-way test in her daily life. She uses it in school to help address bullying. She uses it at home to deal with her siblings. I was simply blown away because she was able to articulate the true meaning of how to use it. It was a brilliant way for that district to sponsor a test promoting our 4-way test. We also have in some places in the world a project where we erect peace monuments, peace poles. So they are structures that are placed somewhere in the community, in a park or on a school campus or somewhere where you get permission. And the peace monument says, may peace prevail on earth. And then it also says it in other languages that represent the people in your community. It is branded with the Rotary Master brand. It has a QR code, so anybody who does not know about Rotary can take a device and go up and learn more. And they are not expensive, and they are really a symbol to show that location, that community, that Rotary is peace building. Of course, we have our marvelous peace centers around the world. We are approaching 25 years of peace centers, and we have almost 2,000 graduates who are now around the world using what they've learned in peace and conflict resolution and making such a difference. They take that knowledge and use it in constructive and creative ways. When I had an opportunity to listen to a graduating class at our Peace Center in the United States, I was blown away. I thought, what was I doing when I was 25 years old? Truly, truly remarkable people. And as you know, we are opening our 7th Peace Center in Istanbul, Turkey. We will be meeting on February 20th, 21st, and 22nd for the only peace conference of the year. In addition to the symposium, the peace conference with wonderful speakers, we will be celebrating the opening of that center. We will be welcoming the first class. We will have trustees, directors, others who are interested, members of our Rotary Action Group for Peace who are interested in promoting peace. So if this is something you are interested in, I personally invite you to join us in Istanbul. It's a beautiful city. I have never been there, but I can't wait. And it is a marvelous way for us to show the world again that Rotary is a peace-building organization. And finally, continuity with change. Continuity in our programs and our leadership is really important. When we have programs that develop a following in our clubs or in our districts, we should not disband them simply because the year is over. You know, last year, President Gordon McInally woke us up to how important it is to take care of mental health and mental well-being. Well, he left office on June 30th, but that doesn't mean we scrap all of that. So there are many programs that are still continuing. When Shaker Mehta was president, he gave a name to something that we had been doing anyhow, girls' empowerment. The empowerment of young people. We continue to do that. There is a Rotary Action Group forming now because that project had been a task force for 3 years, but it is so strong. There are so many Rotary clubs and districts doing things that we know that we need to continue that. And continuity is also important in leadership. So at every level, whether it's at the club level or the district level or the international level, you know that most of us serve a term of 1 year. So in order to make sure that our clubs are moving in the right direction, the same direction, it is absolutely essential that the president works with the person who came before him or her and with the person coming after him or her. Now, everyone will have different ideas. President Mario is also focused on membership, but he has some different ideas about what to stress. President nominee Sanku is interested in membership, and he has some different ideas. But the three of us meet regularly. We meet often, and we talk about our organization and how important it is to build and to continue to grow. So continuity is essential so that it helps us move in the same direction. We can't afford to go up 1 year and down the next year and east 1 year. We can't do that. We have to be moving our clubs, our districts, our zones, and Rotary need to be moving in the same direction. So those are the three things that are completely very important for us. And all of us are working together in 24-25, and that makes me so excited that we're working together. The final comment I have is one about public image. You know, when you get a chance to talk to anyone who is not in Rotary, I hope you will start your presentation with, "We have changed." Because people who are not familiar with Rotary or who know very little about us still think we are, and this is an acronym in English, Romeo, rich, old men eating out. And look at this screen. That is not who we are. We are completely different. We brought in women in the late 80s. We have those new meeting models to attract other people. We have diversity. So we are very different. When I say that to people who are not in Rotary, they listen differently. Because if we start with the elevator speech first and talk about promoting peace and providing water, they think it's old men doing that. So we have to tell them that we are different, that we are unique, we are a marvelous organization. It's our diversity that makes us strong, and we are the best in the world, and then they listen differently. So I hope that you will include that as you think about the people that you interact with. You know them, they're your friends, your family, the people you work with, associates. These are the people who are just like us that we need to share the message with. Because I'm not talking about just bringing anybody into a seat. No, no, no. It has to be the right person with the right qualities. Because if it's just anybody, that's the person who after 2, 3, 4 months is going to leave, who's going to exit. So we need the quality people. When we have the quality people, then we have enough hands to do all the things that we need to do in Rotary. When we bring in a new member, when we give to the Rotary Foundation, when we do a project that changes the world, we are showing our communities, we're showing the world the magic of Rotary. Thank you for listening. I'm happy to answer questions if there are any.
Thank you. Merci, merci, chère présidente. C'est toujours un plaisir de vous écouter, d'apprendre et de se projeter et de se projeter avec le Rotary International et de son travail dans les sociétés du monde entier. Merci, gracias.
Thank you very much for your kind speech and your
Very welcome.
Je donne la parole à notre modératrice Maya. Maya, tu es là?
Maya is on call.
Je crois qu'elle s'est déconnectée.
No, I think she got disconnected.
Il y a notre ami.
On va passer aux questions-réponses.
Il
y a notre ami DG4.
Je demanderai, cher ami intervenant, de donner le nom, le prénom et le pays.
Leave your name,
que les questions soient très brèves.
and the country when you take the floor.
Khalid, c'est à toi.
Oui.
You have DG 9010.
Vous m'entendez?
Oui, Khalid, on t'entend.
Alors, très bien. Je voudrais remercier la présidente Stéphanie d'avoir accepté cette invitation et de nous avoir éclairé sur sa vision. Je voudrais aussi remercier le président Abdelrahman Ali Khoudja du club Alger Espérance pour cette initiative. Je n'ai pas une question, mais plutôt je vais peut-être donner quelques chiffres à notre présidente concernant notre district en ma qualité de gouverneur. Pour lui confirmer que nous suivons la feuille de route qu'elle a tracée. Mais avant, j'aimerais, puisqu'on est dans le thème de la magie du Rotary, j'aimerais vous raconter une petite histoire rapidement dans le cadre de la magie. Quand on était à l'Assemblée générale, à l'Assemblée internationale à Orlando, le premier jour, à 8 heures du matin, on s'empressait tous pour aller vers la salle pour la séance plénière d'ouverture. Moi, je courais, la tête basse, et à un moment donné, je lève ma tête et je vois en face de moi la présidente Stéphanie. Sans me rendre compte,
That not
je lui dis,
I just
oh,
told
hello, President. Can
hello,
I take a
President.
picture with you? Elle
Can
me
I take a
regarde,
picture
elle
with
me
you?
dit,
And she
mais
looked at me.
laissez-moi d'abord rentrer aux toilettes.
Let me go to the toilet
J'avais
first.
pas réalisé que
The
j'étais
ladies
devant la
first.
porte des toilettes.
I didn't realize that was next to
Bon,
the
je
loo.
l'ai, je l'ai attendue. Elle est sortie
And
des toilettes et me
I
dit,
waited for her.
ben maintenant, vous pouvez
She
prendre
came
la
out. She
photo.
said, now you can
J'ai
take the
cette
picture with
photo,
me.
je la lui montrerai quand elle viendra visiter notre district.
I will show her the
Le
picture when she comes to
lendemain,
visit my
je
district.
la croise
The
encore
next
et
day,
je
I
lui dis,
meet
vous
her
vous rappelez
again,
de moi?
and I say, do
Elle
you
me
remember
regardait,
me?
je lui dis, je
She
suis
says,
le monsieur des toilettes.
the toilet guy.
Et là, on a engagé la discussion.
And then we began the discussion.
Je lui dis, chère présidente, je voudrais vous inviter à
And I
visiter
told
notre
her, I'd like
district.
to invite you
Elle
to visit
regarde
my
son
district.
aide Tom
She
et lui
looked at
dit,
her aide,
bon,
Chamgum,
regarde,
and
faites-lui la demande. Effectivement, il
then
m'a donné
and she
son adresse
confirmed
mail. Je lui ai fait la demande pour visiter notre
and
district.
I
Le
made a
soir même,
request to
quelques
visit
mois
our
plus
district.
tard, je reçois la
A few
confirmation.
months, I got the
Et donc, je
confirmation.
vous dis, chère
So let me
présidente,
say,
merci
dear
d'avoir
President,
accepté
thank you
notre
for accepting
invitation pour visiter
our
notre
invitation to
district.
visit our
Et
district.
nous serions
And
très heureux de
we'll
vous
be glad
recevoir et de vous
to
montrer
welcome
ce
you
que nous faisons.
and show you
Alors,
what
maintenant,
we
je vais
do.
passer un peu
Now,
à
I'm going to
votre
go
vision, à votre feuille de route. Vous avez, donc, je vous ai vu à Orlando et j'ai été vraiment inspiré
I was in
par vos
Orlando. I was
messages,
inspired
par
by
votre
your
sens de
message,
leadership, par votre
uh,
dynamisme et
sense of
votre
leadership,
dévouement. Et je suis
your
revenu
dynamism,
chez nous,
and
à notre
devotion.
district, avec plein d'énergie, plein
And
de
I
motivation
welcome you to
pour
our district with
dupliquer votre
great energy
stratégie
and
sur le
motivation,
district
replicate
et
the strategy
votre
on
vision.
the district.
Et je pense qu'aujourd'hui, nous venons de boucler le premier trimestre.
I'll just
Les indicateurs sont tous au vert.
quarter. All
Nous
indicators
avons
are on green.
des membres rotariens irrésistibles, comme vous
Members
nous appelez nous tous, nous
irresistible,
gouverneurs.
as well
Donc
as
moi, j'ai
the
aussi
governor.
adopté ce message
As governor,
adressé aux
I
dirigeants
took
et
that phrase
aux clubs. Ils
for
sont
all
tous irrésistibles.
leaders and all
Donc,
clubs.
d'abord, je vais commencer par le Forum de la paix à Istanbul qui se tiendra du 20 au 22 février. Je vous assure que nous allons être très nombreux. Donc, aujourd'hui, j'ai une intention d'une quarantaine, voire 50 personnes de notre district qui vont être présents à
Great number of persons from our district
Istanbul.
will present in Istanbul.
Au niveau du programme End Polio, nous organisons en simultané entre la Tunisie et le Maroc et peut-être aussi en Algérie un événement le 24 octobre, donc une conférence avec une collecte de fonds qui vont être destinés au fonds polio pour éradiquer cette maladie qui commence encore à reprendre vu ce qui se passe au niveau de Gaza. Au niveau aussi de la convention, nous avons pratiquement une cinquantaine d'intentions pour aller à Calgary en juin prochain. Alors maintenant, au niveau de l'effectif, vous tenez beaucoup à la fidélisation et au recrutement et attraction de nouveaux membres. Donc, je peux vous dire qu'au niveau du premier trimestre, nous avons enregistré la plus forte augmentation dans la zone 22 en Afrique. Donc, nous avons fait une augmentation de plus 122 membres à fin septembre, rotariens, et 226 rotaraxiens, avec la création de 4 clubs et 2 clubs sont en cours de création et 7 clubs rotaract. Et bien entendu, aussi, nous misons sur les clubs satellites. Ça, vous en aviez beaucoup parlé à Orlando et aujourd'hui, nous avons un programme pour créer 25 clubs satellites. Au niveau de la formation, nous avons, à fin septembre, fait les séminaires de formation. Nous avons commencé très tôt, en juillet, nous avons fait le séminaire d'effectifs. Et en septembre, les séminaires images entre la Tunisie et le Maroc. Et au Maroc, nous avons fait aussi le séminaire fondation parce qu'il fallait certifier les clubs pour prétendre au fonds qui était dédié au séisme qui a touché le Maroc en septembre de l'année dernière. Et là, j'ouvre une parenthèse pour vous remercier. Nous avons reçu $100 000 dans le cadre de ce fonds qui était dédié au séisme de la région de Marrakech. Au niveau...
Cher gouverneur, est-ce qu'on a beaucoup de questions qui nous attendent?
Alors rapidement, je termine.
On n'a pas assez de temps, s'il vous plaît.
Voilà.
Je vous remercie.
Donc, au niveau de la fondation, nous avons un programme pour atteindre les $100 000. Nous sommes sur la bonne voie. Et donc, je peux vous dire que nous sommes sur une voie de changement, mais un changement avec continuité et avec intelligence, comme vous l'avez si bien dit, avec les deux couleurs. L'orange, c'est le changement et le bleu, c'est la continuité dans l'intelligence. Voilà, donc je voudrais vous assurer que nous sommes sur la bonne voie et les résultats en témoignent. Merci pour votre inspiration et pour votre message très motivant.
Merci beaucoup, merci beaucoup, cher
Fantastic.
Notre ami Koto Passo Nogori a levé la main depuis un grand moment.
Oui, on lui donne la parole alors.
Yes, thank you. Good evening, everybody. I would like first to thank the President for her brilliant presentation. I really like the presentation and I really appreciate it. And I can confess this evening that I strongly learned through her presentation. And I only have one question. And my question is the following. I would like to know how could we collaborate with local organizations to address community needs? This is my question. Thank you.
Well, you know, I frequently say that Rotary happens in Rotary clubs and Rotaract clubs. That's where it happens. So if we are in a Rotary club in a community, it's important for us to make the move, to work, to talk to community organizations to find out what they think about how change can happen, what change needs to happen in a certain community. You know, I referenced my club earlier, and one of the things we did before we decided on the satellite, we talked to our local Chamber of Commerce about how they felt about service. We talked to the parents of our Interact students about service. We talked to a group we have here in the United States called Leadership by County. So ours is Leadership Washington County. And we talked to these young people about how they felt about a membership organization that does service. And because of what we heard from all of those groups, we were able to move forward, and we knew that a satellite club was the best option for us. We've also worked with our local chamber to identify what needs exist in our community. You know, I've been around the world and I've visited many, many Rotary clubs, and I'm very proud of the fact that every Rotary club in the world does something for young people. But after we talked to our local Chamber of Commerce, we recognized that there were senior centers in our township that had elderly who could use some company, sometimes some small gifts, supplies. And so we have organized a routine to visit these senior centers on a regular basis, not just at the holiday season, but more often, so that, you know, we can interact with them. And it has become a family activity. So Rotarians will often bring children or grandchildren. And so it is a very lovely community gift that we've given. And it came from conversations with our Chamber of Commerce. So take the initiative, wherever you are, to meet with organizations to explain what Rotary is. We're not a handout. And sometimes people think we are a handout. That is not what we are. We are professional people who provide service and address issues in the community to create change. I hope that helps.
Thank you.
Merci, Président.
Thank you. It's clear.
La parole est à Najwa, notre
Congratulations.
de Tunisie.
from Tunisia.
Bonsoir, chère présidente.
Good evening, dear President.
Heureuse de te revoir.
I'd like to meet you
Alors
again.
moi, je pense à deux choses que j'aimerais vous poser.
I'd like to
Un, c'est que vous avez mis en place en tant que Rotary International tout ce qui est club passeport, club corporate, toute la série de nouveaux clubs que vous avez mis,
all new models of
qui ne répondent pas toujours à la demande
that not always
de nos
the demand,
Rotariens.
of
Est-ce
Rotarians.
que l'idée de ramener toujours, parce que vous avez parlé de la question, on doit poser aux Rotariens qu'est-ce qu'il attend quand il nous rejoint? Peut-être que parfois nous ne répondons pas à ces attentes. Quand on met un centre d'intérêt commun dans un club, ça pourrait peut-être être une idée de fidélisation. Donc, est-ce que le fait qu'on mette des clubs centres d'intérêt commun pourrait être une idée à valoriser en tant que Rotarien, et vous surtout au niveau à votre niveau et au niveau un peu élevé au niveau du conseil d'administration et tout, est-ce qu'on peut réellement rendre ces clubs à centre d'intérêt officiellement reconnus par le Rotary comme le club passeport et autres? Voilà, merci, c'est un peu ma question.
I'm afraid I was not able to pick up the question. Could you place it in the chat?
Yeah,
So that
the question was, can you hear me?
I can hear you now,
Okay.
yes.
The question was, if can we use the fact that finding a common center of interest within a club will enhance retention, and as such, centers of interest of members could become a type of model of club officially recognized, like that identify a common interest on which their energies can converge. Would that be a type of club? Yeah.
Of course it is. That we refer to those as cause-based clubs primarily, or they can also be interest-based clubs. There is a club in my district that has recently formed wine tasters. There are people who like to go out and sample wine. So they do that, but then they also do the work of Rotary. So yes, we can be as creative as we want to try to bring groups of people together who are interested in service.
Donc,
Yes.
identifier le point d'intérêt commun, ça devient un point basé sur une cause. Merci.
Merci, Présidente. Alors, notre ami Boutaleb Abdelkader de 90, si j'ai bonne mémoire, a demande de la parole.
Ask for the floor.
Bonjour tout le monde. Merci, Présidente, pour votre message très intéressant. Mais j'espère ne pas vous gêner en vous disant que vos prédécesseurs, les past présidents du Rotary International, pratiquement tous les ans, ont fait le même message. Moi, j'ai un message personnel et c'est uniquement personnel. Est-ce que le Rotary se pose la question pourquoi, depuis pratiquement 20 ans, parce que je suis rotarien depuis 25 ans, et l'effectif du Rotary est toujours à 1 200 000 membres. Est-ce que l'action phare, qui a été une action très importante, qui est intervenue dans le monde entier pratiquement du Rotary, et ça a été très efficace, mais ça dure depuis longtemps. Moi, j'ai été président en 2005 dans mon club, et c'était l'année du centenaire, et c'était l'objectif du Rotary d'éradiquer à cette année-là la polio. Est-ce que, autre chose, quand j'entends la presse et je lis la presse, quand on parle du polio, on parle surtout de l'OMS. Et pas beaucoup du Rotary. Et ça m'embête beaucoup parce que les efforts qui ont été fournis par le Rotary ont été très intéressants. Est-ce qu'on ne peut pas tourner la page maintenant et ouvrir une nouvelle page avec une action phare aussi importante que la polio pour amener une nouvelle image du Rotary et inciter des nouveaux Rotariens, des prospects à intégrer cette magnifique association? Merci.
Adonis, was the question about publicity for polio or about a new project?
It was about the fact that polio, despite our efforts on polio, when we talk about polio, the name that comes first as an organization is WHO and not Rotary. Now, is it not time for us to turn the page on polio and open a new page with a new cause to champion? So that's the whole intricacy.
Yes, we are aware that we are not always mentioned in publicity about the fight for polio eradication. Bill Gates does a marvelous job talking about Rotary. When he speaks, he says if it weren't for Rotary, we wouldn't be as far as we are. However, there are other publications who don't mention Rotary, and we have expressed our concern about that, but in most cases, there is nothing we can do except tell our story through our channels and through our word of mouth. Our General Secretary recently met a woman who wrote for the New York Times publication. And she wrote a marvelous article about the efforts to eradicate polio. And she knows Rotary. So she mentioned Rotary throughout the article, everywhere. She sent it to her editor, and they published the article and had removed every single reference to Rotary. So, again, I'm not sure what we can do about that other than continue to use our own communication vehicles. Our Instagram, our Facebook, our LinkedIn, our magazines, our newsletters, and our Rotarians to tell the story about our efforts and the way we're moving in the direction of a polio-free world.
Merci, Présidente. La parole est maintenant à notre ami PDG Michel Jazar du Liban.
Michel Jazar from Lebanon. Takes the floor.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for your invitation. I will honor my president by speaking in English. Even my first foreign language is the French, and I hope that one day the president will speak the French language and will be French or Francophone. In terms of diversity, essentially. I have two questions. I read your messages, your monthly messages, and I found three verbs: to learn, to serve, to belong. How do you classify these three verbs?
I'm sorry, Michael, what was the first one?
The first is to learn.
To learn.
To learn. Learning, serving, and belonging.
Yes.
How do you classify these three verbs? My second question is, where are we regarding regionalization?
Okay. I'll start with that one. Regionalization is not the word that we use in Rotary. What we use is regional adaptability. Because regionalization sounds as if Rotary is going to say to the entire world, okay, this region, you do that, this region, no, and that's not what it is. Regional adaptability is suggesting that we understand that there are certain ways that Rotary is done differently in certain parts of the world. You may know already that there were two parts of the world who came to Rotary. We did not go to them. They came to Rotary and said, you know, we are not doing so well. We need to try something different. We would like to do a pilot. One was Zone 8, which is Australia, New Zealand, and the islands. And so they were granted permission to try a pilot that they established. And we hope that it will work. We want it to work. We cannot afford to lose Rotary in Zone 8. The other was Great Britain and Ireland, who said the same thing. They came to us and said, we're not doing well. We're aging as an organization. People are not attracted to us. We have to try something different. So they too were granted the ability to be a pilot, and they are trying something new. None of what these groups are trying affects any of us. What we hope is that they will be successful and that we can learn from the things that they're doing to see if there is something that we can adapt. But nothing in the pilots is going to happen in the world of Rotary. We're only going to look for things that may work and then make those suggestions to other places. So that's how regional adaptability is thought about in Rotary. Your first question, to learn, to serve, and to belong. We learn from each other. We learn every time we approach a project, every time we bring in a new member into our club, every time we participate in the Rotary Leadership Institute. We're learning constantly. Continuous improvement is a phrase that comes from education, but applies to Rotary, as does lifelong learner. The moment we think we know everything is the moment we are in trouble, because there is always something new to learn. To serve is the basis of who we are. All of us have the DNA. We want to make life better for children, for people, for families. That's who we are as Rotarians. And belong is what we attempt to do with our Rotary Club experience. We want people to come into our club experience and say, I fit. This is where I belong. This is my part of my Rotary family. So that's how those three words are used, at least in my vernacular, Michael.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
La parole est à notre ami IPDG Saadia du Maroc.
Yeah, merci. Hello, my dear President.
Hello.
It's great to see you and thank you very much. Je vais poser ma question en français. Notre district est un district multi-pays et qui rencontre aussi beaucoup de défis, comme tous les districts multi-pays. Une chose, chère présidente, au niveau de notre district, l'année dernière, quand j'ai été gouverneur du district, on était les champions de la région 26, au niveau de la zone 22, dans le développement du Rotaract. Et au niveau de notre district, il y a un engouement pour les jeunes à rejoindre le Rotaract. Et la preuve, notre gouverneur en a parlé tout à l'heure aussi, il y a énormément de développement des clubs Rotaract. Mais malheureusement, on n'en trouve pas beaucoup parmi ces Rotaractiennes qui passent le cap pour rejoindre les clubs Rotary. On en a quelques-uns, mais pour la plupart, on les retrouve pas dans les clubs Rotary. Ma question est, est-ce que le Rotary, bon, il y a d'abord ça, et deuxièmement, il y a aussi une autre chose, c'est que la plupart des clubs aussi Rotaract qui évoluent, ils trouvent aussi des difficultés quand ils ont un nombre important de membres à payer les taxes per capita, surtout pour les clubs universitaires. Pas pour les clubs communautaires, mais pour les clubs universitaires. Ma question est, est-ce qu'au niveau du Rotary, en élevant le Rotaract, Elevate Rotaract, est-ce qu'on a pensé à comment permettre à ces Rotaractiens de rejoindre beaucoup plus facilement, comme ils rejoignent facilement les clubs Rotaract, de rejoindre plus facilement les clubs Rotary. Merci, cher Président.
Easily Rotary clubs, I mean, for young ones. Thank you very much.
I think the question revolves around Rotaract and how do we get them to transition more easily from Rotaract to Rotary. Is that correct?
Correct, perfectly.
Okay. So let me backtrack and tell you that, several years ago, we elevated Rotaract, which made me very happy. They are our future. The problem is we did that before we knew how we were going to do that. So now we have to backtrack. So there have been several presidents, and unfortunately, there has not been much movement. It is on my radar screen. Some of you may know Vice President Hans Herman Kasten. I have charged him with looking at how do we make it easier? What things can we do to make that transition more palatable, more easy? So there are many proposals that are being worked on. I want something to happen this year, 24-25, the year that we are serving together. We cannot afford to lose Rotaractors. Now, having said that, let me tell you what else I tell Rotary members and Rotaractors. I very often talk to Rotary Club members, and they will say, "Oh, Rotaractors. No, they're too young. They don't know anything. They should be happy parking our cars or selling our tickets. Well, they're too young." And then I talk to Rotaractors who say, "Oh, those Rotarians, yeah, they don't understand us. They don't get us. They don't give us good jobs. They're old fuddy-duddies. They don't know technology." If we do not get closer together, we lose the opportunity for reverse mentoring. I look at all of us and I realize we know so much. We've been in business, we've been in industry, we've been in education, we've been in Rotary. There is so much that we can share with Rotaractors. But I look at Rotaractors and I think, wow, these young people know so much more than I do. They know technology, they know artificial intelligence, they know so much more. If we get together for that reverse mentoring, then we get the best of both of our organization. So we need to work to get more out of that relationship. And I'm working on how we can get more Rotaractors to transition into Rotary. So right now, that's probably the best I can tell you.
Thank you, Stephanie.
Merci.
My friends, I am afraid that I am going to have to leave because I have another appointment in about 3 minutes. I thank you very much for inviting me to participate. If you have any other questions that you would like to forward them to your club president, and he will get them to me, and I'm happy to answer them in writing.
Pour toute préoccupation à laquelle je pourrais répondre ultérieurement. Mais je dois vous laisser.
En tout cas, merci. Merci, cher président, de ta présence aujourd'hui parmi nous. C'est un signal fort qui nous touche énormément et renforce notre fierté d'appartenance au Rotary International qui, malgré ses 119 ans, est à l'avant-garde avec ses idées et ses actions pour espérer un monde meilleur maintenant et demain, ici et partout. Je déclare la séance close. Merci à notre président et merci à tous les participants.
Thank you all participants. We wish you the best, Stephanie. Bless you. Thank you.
Au revoir.
Merci. Au revoir.
Bye bye.
Au revoir tout le monde.
Bye bye. Bye bye.
Au revoir tout le monde.
Désolé, Cornelius.
Merci.
Abdali, s'il te plaît, je peux aider quelque chose, des explications en plus concernant le développement régional.
Oui, on t'écoute avec intérêt, oui.
Le système européen, c'est différent du système américain. Parce que le développement régional en Amérique, il n'existe pas parce que le développement de chaque région est uniforme. Ils n'ont pas des disparités si graves comme en Europe. C'est pour ça que cette adaptabilité, ce n'est pas la même chose que la régionalisation. Et il y a aussi une différence de termes. Donc, il existe toujours, j'ai observé ça depuis beaucoup d'années, j'ai observé ça qu'ils ont un plaisir d'inventer des termes qui ne sont pas les mêmes que les nôtres.
régionalisation, pour nous, c'est pas imposer une chose à ceux qui se préoccupent du développement. C'est de faire une analyse tout d'avant et après ça, faire des changements.